We have told people that Black MAGA is going to get that wake up call one way or another. It's either going to hit them or somebody close to them. And then that's when they're going to realize that the light switch has gone off and I have gotten way more out of this than what I bargained for. So in this picture, you see a man by the name of Melik Abdul, and they say he's a prominent member for Black Americans for Trump. And as you can see in the headline, it says Black Americans for Trump member turns on president after friend loses federal job. So now again, the light switch has turned on for him, and I'm sure it's probably turned on for others. They just haven't admitted it yet, that this is not what they voted for. But here's the thing, this is what you voted for. But see, the thing is, they only, like many of their white counterparts who are MAGA, they didn't read the fine print. We called this down the middle for the last year and a half to 2 years, or at least when he started to throw his hat into the ring saying he was going to run again and started talking. We heard that, but y'all heard something else. And we tried to warn you, but we were told to be quiet, stay in our lane, and all this, that, and the third. I said that's one of the benefits of being an independent. You're staying neutral, so you can see the forest from the trees on both sides of the spectrum, where we can see everyone's flaws on both sides of the aisle. But see, the thing is, they want to pick sides and throw stones at each other. Meanwhile, we're over here on the sidelines, just out the way and watching them just destroy each other. So let's see what they're talking about in here. A prominent member of Black Americans for Trump organization parted ways with the president on CNN Saturday morning over the slash and burn methods of Elon Musk's Doge that is devastating the families of fired federal workers. And see, that's the main issue for them right there, is Elon Musk's input into all of this right here. And I'm sure some of you, by the time this video gets uploaded, will have already heard about them sending an email to federal workers saying that we want to know what you did in the last week or so. And if you don't say what you did, like as far as you being at work, then that's basically your letter of resignation. This is what Elon Musk put out there. Y'all probably have already seen it, but if you haven't, that's what he said in so many words. And I even saw a screenshot of what one of the emails looked like. I mean, that is crazy. And what's even more sad is you have people on there literally saying how they don't think that's a bad thing. Okay, if you say so. According to GOP strategist Melik Abdul, an acquaintance of his friend who lost their federal job in a rural community as part of the purge after only being on the job for 6 months. And it's crazy because I actually heard a story about somebody who just got there and was in the job for about 7 weeks before they basically, in so many words, fired them. So a lot of these people are just getting these jobs, and as soon as they get them, they're gone. Remember at one point in time, they used to say federal jobs in the government was secure. Yeah. I said even back then when people were saying that, I said, how secure are they? But then people didn't understand it because at the time you didn't have to worry about it. But now you really have to, especially now with it. Really, in my opinion, all it boils down to is Elon Musk is the major problem. Donald Trump is a problem too, because he allowed him to be there and he's not checking him. He's allowing this man to do whatever he wants. And the longer he does it, the more worse off it's going to get. But now people are starting to see it. But the thing is, it's too late. The goal was to get him in there so they can do this. We are stuck with their decision making for the next 4 years unless something happens and, a shift. Sorry about that. I had to step away right quick. But I said, unless something happens where it's a shift, then this is what's going to happen. And we're still in the first quarter. This is February now. When y'all see this video, it'll be March. But we're still in February and all of this is happening. He's only been the president for a month and 3 days. Well, 4 days if you count the 19th. So, let me continue. After CNN's Table for Five, Abby Phillips shared clips of Jesse Waters on a Fox News, quote, freaking out about the federal worker purge after a veteran getting doged, as the Fox host put it, after previously gleefully calling the mass firings a blessing from heaven above. Abdul chimed in with a similar story. And I did actually see that clip I was watching. I forget who I was watching, but they did show that clip where you had Jesse Waters, that pipsqueak, up there literally like he was about to be moved to tears about a friend of his that was being affected by this. But months prior, he was saying how this was such a blessing. See, this is why a lot of people think that black people are politically inept. No, it's a lot of people over there that are it just as much, if not more, politically into not politically intellectual as black people are. Let's be real here. This thing played out like high school superlatives in the most popular category. This is exactly how it played out. This is exactly why I stayed away from it, because I saw flaws on both sides. Now people are seeing the flaws on this side. I feel absolutely nothing, but let's continue. Abdul is quoted as saying, "It seems like that Jesse Waters agrees with me that Republicans should stop demonizing federal workers," he told the panel. To his point, "I know a guy down in Alabama, first time getting a government job. He had, been fresh out of college, had been trying to get a job for a couple of years now, finally got that government job, and I think about 6 months ago. Well, now he's laid off. So his kid, his wife, all of that promise is totally gone." And I think your point is right. He elaborated. Once people start seeing, because when we think of federal government, for many anti-government people, they think DMV, meaning DC, Maryland, and Virginia. They don't see federal government as someone working, living in a rural area of Mississippi, commuting to a job at the Department of Agriculture. They don't see them as federal workers, which is why it's always easy to just say, shut them down, they'll get paid. That's not how it works. Well, to his point, he actually does make a point. Because when a lot of people do think of the government or the federal government, of course, they're going to think of course, DC or any major metropolitan area where politics is thrives very much so at. But DC is always going to be that central hub, because that's where the final decision making, it always goes through there. So that's why a lot of people think and say that. So he does have a point. They don't think that there are other federal enclaves around the establishment, even in rural areas where you would not think that they are, because you think in rural areas, you think more, like he said, agriculture or anything more industrial, or maybe factory settings or something like that. They don't think, oh, federal employment is in those areas. No, they are there. The federal agencies are national. They're everywhere, even when you think that they're not. Shoot, the airport is owned by the government. That's a federal entity, and most people wouldn't even think that. I said most essential jobs are federal based. The post office is another one. Every state has a post office. So you can't just think of, the Capitol or the White House or the different departments that are, of course, all mainly in DC, like your Department of Agriculture, your Department of Health, of Office of Personnel Management. Those are main hubs, but they're not the only ones. There are smaller federal sectors around the establishment that will most likely get affected first. And that's what I believe he's talking about. And ironically, that is the end of the article. So, there it is right there. So he had to find out the hard way via his friend losing their job after just getting the job for 6 months. And it's sad, especially when you think about how there are people out there that have families, and they need money and all types of stuff like that, and it's like everything's going good for you, and then this happens. But then, like I said, on the flip side, I can't feel bad, because this is what you voted for. Unfortunately, we tried to tell you, but we were told to be quiet. We were pushed aside, and the warnings were there, the red flags were there, the signs were present. So I don't know what people going to do. At this point, it's only going to get worse before it gets better.